Welcome back, my party poopers. I'm Dan Kerr, and today we're diving into one of my favourite themes, which is the strange bizarreness that happens when a neurodivergent brain finds the right environment. Now, even when that environment looks completely wrong from the outside, sometimes you just don't know. Something I always tell my kids is to find what you love and make that your job. So first up, I speak with MJ Warfield, who I met at The Round. And she's someone who works in a job that on paper should be a nightmare for an AuDHD person. I certainly thought so. You know, a job this loud, it could be chaotic, unpredictable. I'm not sure I could do that. But that's the interesting thing about building a career around your special interests. So MJ shows us how to be a quiet person in a loud job, and that it isn't always a contradiction when you understand your own secret skill sets. And trust me, she has a bunch of them. And then after that, I sit down with my friend for 4 decades. Good God. I had to go on to Google and find out how long that's been. In fact, I even had to put my birthday. I had to put my birthday to find out what my age is. I couldn't remember. Anyway, it's been over 4 decades since we met at school. And so we talked about what it's like to be diagnosed later in life and how grounding and confronting for both people it can be to get to know yourself through a new, brighter lens. Now, Martin's insights, they're sharp, they're funny, we get emotional sometimes. I don't think we're that bad this time. But it's a discussion that only long friendships can have. And I really hope that you can find, or you have in your life, friends a bit like this, that you can feel safe and comfortable to talk to. Now, if you enjoy listening to Late to the Party, and if you meet me somewhere on the street, oh no, that sounds terrible. If you see me on the corner of a street and you think, I could give him some money. Maybe you should go back to the script. If you'd happily meet me once a month and buy me a coffee, consider supporting the show on Patreon. It just helps me cover the costs, but I think more importantly, it actually keeps me completely independent. And that's not something you always get to do when you're doing a podcast. Now, let's be honest. When you listen to the end of this episode, there is no management, there is no sponsor who's going to tolerate the song that I wrote for Martin. No chance. But I like it. And I hope you do, but hey, that's why I'm independent. I'm going to do it anyway. All right. Welcome along. Let's get into it. Here's my chat with MJ, followed by my chat with Martin. Now, I've already started.
Yeah, I can see that. Thanks.
And the funny thing is, when I was thinking about this, I don't do intros or anything like that. I'd like you to do an intro for who you are, because I think that's particularly what we're going to talk about today, because it's kind of all about you and your work, you know.
Great.
So
okay.
Tell us a little bit about you and your job.
Sure. Well, my professional profile says Mary Jane Warfield is an arts management professional with 20 years experience, which is, a good, it's like, wow, anyway, that's the headline is that. So that experience is over mostly in community spaces, in regional places, in the spots where artists and audiences come together. Over that 20 years, that's what I've realised my specialty is to create places where artists and audiences meet. And so I work on producing festivals, events, and now programming at The Round, which is such a delight because it's a beautiful big venue in the eastern suburbs where I grew up a long time ago, and have been away for so long, and then returning back home to Melbourne and into this job has been such an honour, and the resources here are incredible. So my job at the Round is creative programming team leader, which means that I get to, with a team of people and some approvals, but I get to choose the season shows. And so I look at hundreds of shows every year, and then I curate a program together across a number of different streams, we call them. So subscriber season, midweek matinees, families, and then special events, which is a bit of a catch-all for everything else.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of things I picked up on when you were introducing yourself. When you said regional, what does it like? Where regionally? Like, regional means different things for different people too.
So going back from the start, I started my career in the Yarra Ranges, so Upper Yarra Valley, and I worked in Warburton and Healesville for Yarra Ranges Council, and I was young and I got cranky with not being able to do things quickly enough, so I left and made my own business called MJ's Events, and I went from being on a salary to being on $2 an hour and realised, so there were some hard-learnt lessons. But yeah, I was in that region. So when I say regional, that means like Yarra Valley. So I did some work in Yarra Glen at Yering Station Sculpture Exhibition. I did an education program.
Did you?
There. Yeah.
Wow.
I freelanced, so I it was a real variety. Healesville and Warburton are mostly the communities I was working with then, and that's back in 2006 to 2012. And then we went, you know what, this routine is stifling. The school routine, I had 2 kids and a husband, and we thought it was all a bit stifling and rigid for us, and we went, you know what, we want some freedom. We're on a family camping trip. I said, imagine if we could just do this all the time. And so we got a caravan and a dog, which was
what kind of dog?
funny. Yes, she was tiny, but it was a funny decision. Anyway, and then we took off, and we thought we would go around Australia for 1 year. And 12 years later, I came back by myself with 2 grown-up kids, an ex-husband, and the dog unfortunately passed away.
Well,
so we ended up, we went New South Wales, Queensland, back and forth across Queensland. I thought, I'm done with the arts. I'll try getting something else, and couldn't find any work. And then we ran out of money, went up to Darwin, stayed with my cousin. And I thought, I'll just look on Arts Hub and see what jobs are around, because I've got the skills to do events and stuff. And then really that's when my career took off, because I got a job in Alice Springs producing the Alice Springs Desert Festival.
Nice.
And then we were hooked. So after 5 days in Alice, we were just in love with the place, and we had friends and a house, and it just all fell into place. And it was a wonderful place to grow up, you know, all of us. I worked on Desert Festival there I did 6 iterations over 11 years.
Can you explain that to what that is?
It's changed now, so it sort of morphs depending on who's in town and how it's managed and what funding's available. But when I did it, it ended up being an 11-day multi-arts festival that's mostly focused on supporting local artists in Alice Springs. So we ran incubator programs and seed programs to support local artists.
So cool.
And they would develop work, sometimes for the festival, sometimes, which I really enjoy, is just developing work, experimenting, and then having a showing or a show and tell about what they'd learnt or how they were going. And then we'd also, depending on funding, and it was like a roller coaster, the funding world. So everything from $180,000 to $1 million over those. And that's tricky because people's expectations are set once you've done a big whiz bang event for free.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So Alice Springs and then East Gippsland, which I did my best for a year in East Gippsland, but it wasn't the right fit for me or that community. But it was a lot of learning. So a beautiful part of the country, like Gunno-Kurno country, from Bansdale all the way to Mallacoota. So I spent 14 months there. And they had a great plan, a really good culture and creativity strategy that I was employed to try and implement. So that was challenging. And then I fell in love recently and moved to Melbourne to
from there.
Around. From there, I met a musician who was on tour, and 2 years ago now. And so I've moved in with him, and I'm in at the Round. So full circle, as I like to say, back to Nunawading where I grew up.
How did you find Alice Springs? I found it quite a contradiction being up there.
It's so varied, and it's hard to put 12 years of experience into a summary.
Mm.
It's a
But I mean, just the town itself, just like I found it, like I fell in love with the place. I really felt, I've never felt a connection to country like I have there, which was really strange because I don't like the heat, and but then there was also that, and particularly at night time in town, there was elements of being a little bit afraid to wander around as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all true. I find that it has layers of energy. So there's that really deep spiritual country energy that I feel like I can feel that when I'm there, and it's very much alive with culture. And then there's layers of tourism and commerce that come in and out over the top, and then there's a small population. Really, it's 25,000 people. So there's more people in the city of Geelong than there are in all of the NT. For example. So it's sparsely populated. It's the most funded postcode for arts funding. When I was doing reporting I worked for Regional Arts Australia for a chunk there in Alice Springs, and I was doing all the data and reporting on the Regional Arts Fund. And it's the most active and funded arts postcode in the country. And that's not by population. It's just there are like 50 arts organisations in that town. It's crazy how much creativity and people say, look, it cracks you open, and I think that's definitely what happened for me. And I've watched people go to Alice and be cracked open and thrive, or be cracked open and have to go back home and be wrapped in a blanket. It's really and so I think it depends on timing. And then as a town, it's just so complex, Dan. There's so many issues, and I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of a culture that I haven't been brought up in,
No, but when you go in there as someone who doesn't live there, you get this idea that there's a lot of ideas about what the Aboriginal people in the area, people get these assumptions and so forth and go off and talk about them. But my understanding was it was often a lot of people who were sort of misbehaved a bit in their communities and ended up in Alice Springs. And
I was going to say, there's a lot of communities around Alice. And one thing I said to my brother, because my brother asked me, he said, oh, what, we'd been living there a few years, and he said, oh, I said to my brother, for every person in the river who's having a hard time and making trouble, there's a number of people at work, at school, doing what our Western culture thinks is a productive life. And he said, oh, well, what do those productive people think of the people in the river? And I said, I don't know, mate. What do you think about the guys at the train station asking you for a cigarette? Or just because someone's Aboriginal doesn't mean they're all the same people. There's 4 or 5 different countries that cross over in Alice Springs. Yes. And it's also a place of as I understand it from the stories that I was told by elders, it's a place of meeting, of trade, and of conflict. So it's never had that energy of let's settle here. So it's kind of too late now because they've gone and built a big town with all the resources right in the spot where that tension lives. But fascinating place and really close to my heart. And I feel like my home and my community are kind of still there as much as I'm back in Melbourne with extended family.
Yes. Yep.
It's a very special place.
Now we were having a conversation when we were waiting at Triple R a bit, and I think I brought up the question to you about being neurodivergent and doing the job you do, and I was a little bit confused how you go about doing that.
Well, I got the job. I've only been diagnosed 6 or 7 months ago, so it's very new. So in the time that we've known each other, I've gone from not knowing I was neurodivergent to understanding that I am. So I feel like I'm still in the early stages of that understanding and that reckoning that you do, that people talk about, where your life starts to make sense. And I was thinking on the way here this morning about the things about neurodivergence, and for me it's AuDHD-C, and the features of that I wasn't aware were features of that, which are an inability to regulate one's emotions, imposter syndrome, and perfectionism. And so it's a nasty combination for someone who works in the arts, because it's an under-resourced area. You want to do it well. You put all your heart and soul into it, and then you doubt that you've done a good job. So you just try harder and harder. So I was thinking, well, burnout's a big part of it for me. Like sometimes I feel like I've burnt out a few times and I just keep going because it doesn't feel like there's a choice.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. The burnout, the experience before you had some understanding. Like, how were you coping with, I don't know, even it can come down to the people you got to talk to, the noises, all the different situations, the constant moving all over the place. It sounds like you didn't mind moving, though.
I'm a little bit into not hugely into astrology, but I'm a Sagittarius, and I think it goes with that territory. But also, as a baby, my parents had 4 kids, and I was the first one. And when I was a baby, they went, "Oh, we haven't travelled overseas. We want to go before we have, more children." And so they took me travelling around the world in my first year. And I believe that had a huge imprint on my social outlook and my desire to keep moving and be interested in other cultures and try new things, because my siblings, bless them, but they don't have that drive to go all the time. And some people think it's running away, but I don't think it is. I think it's exploratory. And
that's interesting, isn't it? It's sort of bypassed. To me, it's like you developed a skill set that would normally not necessarily have happened. You may not have gained that sort of skill to be able to do what you do.
Yeah.
And that's from that experience of gaining that.
Someone said to me recently, Dan, "Oh, MJ, you see so many shows." Like we were in a network meeting with other people that do similar jobs to me in different councils. And they said, "Oh, but you see so many shows." And I said, "Yeah, I've realised now it's a hyper-focus, but I've had it since I was 16. So I became a theatre kid in year 11, and theatre, dance, anything on a stage, music, live music, obviously, has been an interest and a passion of mine since
we could
then.
have done a little thing. We could have done a little performance.
I don't tend to dance anymore. Which is, I love to dance. And I was saying to someone yesterday, it's been 10 years since I've danced on a stage, but that's okay.
Oh my God! So as a kid, you did some bit of dance and so forth. So you got into performance yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. My family are not necessarily an artsy kind of family. So creative thinkers, and now I think probably quite a bit of neurodivergence there, because I've also learnt that it's a hereditary situation. But mum and dad were very busy, and they both worked full time, and we had to quote unquote do 2 sports each. We had to choose our sport and do that, and I hated it. So I convinced them dancing was a sport. But the thing that influenced me, and I got quite emotional about this yesterday, because there were lots of grandparents with their grandchildren in the show that we had at the Round. And I had an adopted grandma, Mary, she was the assistant at my kinder, and we just adored each other and became lifelong friends. Anyway, back in the day, she had an Australian ballet subscription. And I was a sweet, cute little girl, and she was a lady who was into ballet, and we became friends, and she would take me to the ballet at the Arts Centre in Melbourne. And these are like core memories of joy for me. It just everything, the ritual of it, going downstairs into that red carpeted area, looking at the artwork, getting a special sandwich, into the huge theatre, the velvet curtains, the lights, the magic of performance and escapism into the story of the show. And she would support that by telling me the stories beforehand. Like I had a ballet book, and that really, I credit her and those experiences with my love of the arts. I think that was where the seed was planted, and it's so important for young children.
This makes all much more sense now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so sometimes we have these commonalities of not liking too much noise, crowds and things like that. But if you've got a special interest, all that it doesn't matter anywhere near.
Yeah, and I think, Dan, for me, my particular brand of spice is I like a lot of overstimulation. And then I need alone time. So different to a lot of other people that I've spoken to about neurodivergence. For example, at conferences and events, I dive right in. I love networking. I'll go and chat to 17 people at once. And have a ball, and then I fall in a heap afterwards for a little bit, and I just need some quiet time. But
Me too. It's exactly the same.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Even with my job now, I've taken on a bigger role where it's going to be a lot more sort of responsibility and interactions with the stakeholders and running meetings, and it's a lot more. I have to be out there.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting. I think my experience of doing the 2 live shows obviously has been part of the reason why I felt confident enough to do this.
Oh, great! That's great to hear. I was going to say, actually, you've reminded me of the question you asked to start this part of the conversation was around how do I cope with those kind of meetings and presenting, and I think it goes back to acting. Like it's is called masking. And so if I'm in a meeting and I chair meetings quite a bit with the board that I'm the chair of, and it's a role that I play. It's not that I'm pretending, but if I'm relaxed like I am now, I just go my conversation goes like this. I get called chatterbox and I side story MJ, and it's like, yeah, all of that's true. But if I need to pull focus and I've got a purpose and I know I'm there and I can work the room in a different way where I'm working the agenda of the meeting and getting to the outcomes that we need, so I can be really focused in that way. And I have to pull it in, to do that.
It's a really good thing that we have.
Yeah.
We can do that. And it's the same with me, even thinking back to when I was younger and I'd walk out of a movie and I'd be taking on one of the roles. I'd be getting myself into that headspace. And, the ability to do that is not something most people are able to do. To change, to mirror, to fit into new situations really quite quickly, I think it's a really special. I think it's very much something a neurodivergent brain can do better.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that as well. It just makes me think. I enjoy going to metal gigs sometimes, and people at work were like, "But you wouldn't like that music," and I'm like, "I dress in pink and blue at work, and I'm the Rainbow Theatre lady." But I also just as much like putting on some black jeans and my docs and a t-shirt and some eyeliner and going out and having a headbang, tote or whatever. And so it's like, it's not that I'm pretending. I enjoy lots of different things, and I can really enter into those genuinely in a different way. And talking to other friends that can do that recently at a barbecue, I caught up with some old friends and we realized we have all been diagnosed.
Right.
There wasn't one person there. There was like maybe 8 or 9 of us from a larger group of friends, but we've all been diagnosed with either autism, ADHD, or AuDHD. And it's like, it feels like everyone has been diagnosed, and it's like, no, birds of a feather.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And the more all of us sort of open up about that, I think the more. I don't know what I'm saying. I say the word powerful, but I just think we're going to have a hell of a lot more influence on our culture.
Yeah.
I think, as it's going on, and hopefully, we'll be able to have a good positive influence and undo some of the nonsense that's happening right now.
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes I think we're all the neurotypical people, but then we have a finance and economics event on at the round today, and I was like, oh, there they are. Like they're it's just that my people that I tend to associate with tend to also be neurodivergent. So sometimes it feels like that's just the normal way to be. The majority of people that I tend to be around.
What about people you're connecting with as you're going all over the shop? What are you finding there?
I guess we don't really, in a professional context, it doesn't tend to come up straight away.
No.
So it's not something that, it's only if it's a topic. So I wouldn't really know. I mean, you can kind of pick, it's like one of my colleagues here in marketing said, we saw each other outside of work, and she said something like weirdo meets weirdo. And I thought, straight away, because I know. It's even in the way we dress, her and I specifically is a quite bright, colourful, and a little bit forgetful, a little bit fun. It's and I think you're right though, celebrating those traits rather than them being punished. Because I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks so that I can learn about ADHD and how it impacts women and perimenopause and how I organise my home and all the different sort of things. And it's like so many aha moments about traits that I've had my whole life that are now coming together in a picture of a disability, which is also quite confronting to go, oh, well, I work with artists with disability. That's the board that I'm on, is Insight Arts in Alice Springs.
Yeah.
And I have mixed feelings about identifying as someone with a disability, because it doesn't impact my daily life the way that people that I work with there are impacted. They need carers and support and all sorts of other mechanisms to be able to have a full life. Whereas I feel very privileged, and I don't. Yeah, I feel conflicted about claiming that space. So I don't know the answer.
Well, imagine if you didn't get that time to have some quiet. Imagine if that was taken from you.
The other thing, Dan, is imagine if I didn't have a supportive family. I talk about this a bit, like with friends. It's like I probably would be a character on the street, you know. There's been times in my life where I've really needed support, either financial or emotional. And if I hadn't have had that, it'd be a totally different story.
That's the issue going on with the NDIS right now. People are trying to argue that just because we've gone through our lives and we've had to figure out how to support ourselves in whatever way we can. So we've developed these mechanisms, whether it be just making sure you got this quiet time. There's a whole lot of things that we would do we're probably still not aware of.
Yeah,
they're all because of the disabilities that of being in a culture that's not set up for us. You know, it's just not. Sometimes we can't express what those things are, and they can be hidden. They can be, but they are still there.
Yes,
they're still there.
It's true. I think that's what I mean by mixed feelings. Like on one hand, I'm relieved because I go, I've always felt like there was something wrong, or I was struggling more than everyone else. Well, not everyone else, but the general population. And then on the other hand, I'm like, well, some people that I know who have intellectual or physical disabilities couldn't get out the door by themselves, whereas I can. So it's like I can see both sides of that.
Yes. No, absolutely.
In terms of people's needs.
Yeah, I know, I get that. Well, what are the books you're talking about that you...
I really enjoy Matilda Bosley's book. So she's got another... She had The Year I Met My Brain, and then there's another one that's just recently come out, and that is called The ADHD Organisers. No, that's the one I'm listening to at the moment. The ADHD Brain Buddy.
Okay.
And it's what I like about that one. It's an audiobook. So I like to listen once or twice because I listen on the way to work. And as we've talked about, I've got a 50-minute commute from where I live to Nunawading, so try and learn things on the way to work. Yeah, and sometimes I have to listen twice because there's a lot going on the Eastern Freeway and whatnot. But I've had The Mindfulness Prescription for Adult ADHD, The Year I Met My Brain, Self-Care for People with ADHD, Burnout by Emily Nagowski and Amelia Nagowski. That's really interesting. It's slightly off topic, but still very relevant, I think, for people. There's one other one that was particularly about women with ADHD, and that I found really relatable because it talked about hormonal changes. At the stage of life that I'm in, there's a lot of hormonal changes going on, and that can often unmask women. And also, the thing I found really interesting, that they thought that ADHD was just a childhood disorder, but it was because they'd only looked at it in boys. They'd only put resources into boys, and often boys, when they become men, they often have a female partner who takes on the executive functioning role, and so then they thought, it doesn't exist in adulthood because their symptoms disappear, and it's like no, it's just that the women are taking on that load. So that was that I had to pull over for that one. I was like, wow, that's I can see that.
Oh my God.
So
I always struggle with the books and looking on. I have to go and look up those authors and find out where they're coming from, what's their expertise, and I had the same thing when people try to contact the podcast to say, can someone come on? I have to do a lot of research because I'm a bit of a stickler with who I'm going to be listening to or who I'm going to be reading, if they're just talking out their ass or do they actually have some sort of expertise that's worth me listening to. Do you find you do a bit of that checking first, or do you just find
Dan, I am someone who doesn't tend to have a filter or a very good sense of judgment. So I do this in life all the time. I'm like, everything's great. I take on everything, then it's too much, and then I have to. So I'm not. and that's that. I see that now mirrored in lots of areas, as I said, of my life, where I'm like, this person seems great. Everyone's great, and then I edit later, and I tend to put people on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Everyone is on a pedestal until they prove otherwise, which I'm not recommending that. It's just a habit that I've formed over my life. So no, I don't tend to research. I just put in, the audiobook program. I put AuDHD and then just clicked on, because I had all these credits, because due to my spicy brain, I'd forgotten that I'd subscribed. So I had 50 credits or something for years of paying this annual subscription. So I just bought every single title that had AuDHD.
Did the same. Yeah, I did the same. Well, that's funny.
And no, I tend to learn about the author when I'm listening to the book. But Matilda Mosley, she's been a journalist with The Guardian for a while, and I really like her style. And, she's also very forgiving, and she's very much about be kind to yourself, which is something I struggle with. So that's been really refreshing.
That's a mantra for me. That's a really big mantra, and I say that to everyone else as well. There's the first thing: be kind to yourself first. Just be kind.
Yeah.
Well, no, you could tell me. I actually, I'm sorry, I have to find out. And I know we've talked about it, but I've probably forgotten anyway. And it's still interesting. Is the music? The music. How the hell? What was the trigger? What got you into metal?
Oh, being in Alice Springs, because there's such a variety of bands and musicians there, and genres, and there's all these subcultures of genre where there's people that are hardcore into their thing. So there's ravers and metalheads and classical and jazz and all the things, folk, country. But the fans, the audience, is the same 500 people that go to every gig. It's the community, the arts community. So I went, so there's a place in Alice called Blacken, which is a studio, but there's also Blacken the Globe, which is a metal festival. And I run festivals, and that is the best festival I've ever been to. It was stunning. It was so theatrical. It's so much heart and soul in it. The punters, I just couldn't believe how great it was. And how kind that audience, speaking of kindness, the kindness that I experienced in that audience was incredible.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, even from that sort of back in the 90s with the, I'd go to places where places called Hard and Fast, and really it was full on. And but no, it was the best. The people, there was never fighting, there was never any aggression, and every time I went to a normal sort of whatever you call a club or whatever, there'd be all that there'd be such aggression around, So it's quite the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting how, and I don't have a conclusion to this, but the style of music tends to have a release. So I think with people thrashing around, and on stage, the theatrics of metal, there's a real catharsis to that.
Yes.
And it's not music that I listen to outside of seeing it live. So I guess for me, it's probably about the visuals and the theatrics and feeling like part of a community.
Oh, that's really interesting. I've always had this theory that for me, I never liked aggressive music because I had enough of it in my own life when I was young. And so I ended up, watching the Brady Bunch and listening to nice, calming, beautiful music and harmonies and things like that. I always ask people whether they feel like that's similar to, even nowadays, what you listen to maybe be a reflection on how your childhood was.
It's a really interesting point, because my music taste is very eclectic, and it changes. What I listen to changes quite rapidly.
Yes, me too. Me too.
This morning I was listening to Electric Fields and missing Alice Springs a bit, and thinking about the starry sky as I drove in, and at the same time thinking about this podcast and managing the traffic and what I'm going to do today for the rest of my work. Because we have the delight, don't we, of having multiple threads, multiple windows open at once.
Oh, it's so important to me. I have to really have a think. I say, what do I need to listen to right now? And I put some good thought into that. I don't just chuck random music on. I need to know where am I sitting? Where's my mood? What do I need to listen to right now?
Yeah, does it depend on mood for you, Dan? Are you like,
it's all about mood.
Yeah.
If I make a playlist for someone, it all follows a mood. It doesn't follow a genre. It follows a mood, and that's more important.
I have a playlist called "Walking Through Adelaide in Springtime." So I get what you're saying.
I got one called Late Night Chat.
Yeah, nice.
Where it's like a late night chat between a couple where it's, you're having fun, blah, blah. At some point there's a bit of an argument and then it goes back to okay again.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Oh my god.
Well, speaking
I'll
of jobs, I
sure
probably have to go now, and I've got to do a very boring thing with my computer, with IT.
Well, make sure give me the chance to do this, because I always finish off these conversations and I don't actually say thank you so much for coming into the podcast.
Oh, you're
and
welcome.
talking to me. I always end up having to just peter it out somehow and find a way to finish those podcasts, because the conversations just keep going and we forget to say goodbye and I forget to say thanks, and
Well, thank you for having me. It's a delight to talk to you always, and I also really like how kind you are and patient with my communication. You understand that there's lots going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's never a problem when you're talking to another spicy, because you understand, you get it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Dan.
My undying gratitude to MJ for that discussion, and she was a great support for the event that we had at the round, and I hope we get to do it again next year. We'll see. Okay, so we're moving on to another chat, one that I actually had a few years ago, and I just never found a place to put it. It's a chat I had with my oldest and best friend, Martin, who we met in year 8. So that was the second year of high school. How old were we? We would have been 12, 13 or something like that. And it must have been 13. He showed up after the first year and we were introduced to each other. There was for some reason, there was some idea that we were going to have a bit of a punch up or whatever it was. That never happened. As soon as we saw each other, we went, "Oh, you're my kind." So, we've been really, really good friends, best friends for decades now. It's crazy how long it's been, but he's been there through so many of these, phases of my life as a neurodivergent kid, young adult, and old person. We're all growing old together. And so he has a unique insight into helping me understand what changes I've gone through and over the years. Am I behaving differently? It's a pretty cool thing to be able to speak to someone who's known you that long, to get some understanding, particularly when you don't have memories of the past, or many of them anyway. So that was the point of this discussion, and I think for any of you who've got a similar situation with people who've known you before and after a diagnosis, it's really interesting to hear their thoughts on what has changed, and are you better? Are you a better person? Are you a happier person? Because sometimes we don't know. And so that's why I really, really loved this conversation, and I'm glad I found a place on an episode to bring him into the fold. He's been on before, but not for a discussion like this. So I really hope you get to enjoy and get something out of two really close friends, always learning more about each other. Let's get on with it. If we go back, because we go back to year 8, so how old were we? 13 or something?
I was
12?
a bit older. I was about 14.
So I would have been about 12, 13. And for leading through to our 20s, I'd be present a lot. I'd be around your house, not just when you were living with your parents during school, but also afterwards. Like I'd always drive round, show up all the time, And then even with Jen, it was still happening with Jen. Like we'd be together and then it would just be both of us coming over all the time. And then it started to peter away, and that's, I think, when kids came along and all that sort of stuff. So it's a weird, having a longer friendship is weird because it can change quite a bit from how it was. And do you have that feeling sometimes, like a guilt or a wish that it was like it used to be? Or
I think things made a drastic change over COVID. Well, I think for you guys and also for me, because I stopped driving.
Yes. Yep.
So there was when you said that, what it stirred in me was enormous guilt.
Right.
So I should be putting more into this friendship.
Right. Yep.
So there was that, and that's probably why I actually called you up on it, because it was I had to, for my own sake.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness what?
I did a little live thing on the way here, and said, for more neurotypical friends, if you have neurotypical type friends, you should tell them to be very blunt and call out something that you've said that might be misconstrued or taken offence to, and to say it, because it's a good thing. I don't think there's many autistic people who would be upset to hear a blunt, honest call back at something they've done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it's a big thing, it's a helpful thing, but it's not something that polite society likes to do.
But I was horrified that I'd made you feel like that.
Like what?
Like I made you feel like I wasn't putting in.
No, because I didn't. That's not what I was...
And then I said to you, I'm going to start coming once a week by taxi. And you said, do not. Come and see me once a week by taxi. And I've got to say that was a good call. Because I don't want to do it either.
Bloody hell. No, I didn't even think about any of that, because I've been thinking more like two parts. The two parts, which was when I was there a lot because I didn't want to be at home. And then I think part of my early 20s of visiting, not just you but other people as well, was because I was still living at home and I didn't want to be there. And Jen was working during weekends and nights and stuff like that, so I just didn't want to be stuck at home. And then it's changed to something completely different, which is, I think I'm more comfortable with that. I'm okay with it. I think it's a good evolution, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And I don't know if yourself and other friends feel the same way as, like you were saying. Like, am I abandoning people by not contacting?
The thing, I hadn't thought of about that until you said that.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, oh my God. And I had to go over in my head the last few years' friendship. But you're a happier man now than you were back then. So that's
I hope so.
a positive, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy with the way things are. Like,
yeah.
When you're 50 odd, you don't need your friends always on your doorstep.
Some people do, though.
Yeah, well, they're weirdos.
What was it like when back then when I'd show up in Mitcham? Because I'd often wake you up, knocking on the doors, knocking on the windows, or I'd just go in and make myself a cup of tea.
Well, I didn't want to be woken up. I wasn't a fan of that. But you weren't
I was kind of insistent, I think, too.
Yeah, you're insistent on me putting your presence on me. But,
your presence on me.
But you used to come in and you had quite a big family.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There was people to talk to. It didn't necessarily fall on me the whole time.
No.
You're comfortable in the family. The family was comfortable with you. So I was quite happy with it.
Yeah, it was great to be able to have to chat with your mum, or earlier on your sisters, or at least one. I think, who was around? I mean, were they both there at one stage? Yeah.
Michelle would have been there longer.
Yeah. No, And so I used to love just coming in, because it was always just a calming, relaxed place. And it did feel very welcome, but not... Yeah, and also felt like they weren't required to entertain me or anything like that. But that was your parents were like that with lots of people as well, which...
They're very accepting of people coming over, and you didn't have to entertain them in any way.
No.
And also, I didn't have to entertain... Like, used to come over and say, how do I feel about it? I didn't have to entertain you. Like, you put a video on, you do anything. Like, you're just there.
Imagine all the time. We go through phases of... Did you like repeating watching things? Like watching Imagine over and over again?
Me?
Yeah.
I loved it.
Because I forget that, my God, we used to... The young ones and the stuff like that, we would just watch over and over.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes. Then you had all the videos too. You recorded so much stuff. Yeah. Which was always good.
And even music videos. Watch those over and over.
Cassettes. We spent a lot of time doing that. Skits. Like little copies of... What were we copying?
Derek and
Clive.
Monty Python.
Yeah.
We did some music. I had no musical talent, but I'd sit there playing organ. And wouldn't we just talk? Make letters.
We used to do that. That was the non-conformist
society.
God. And I've got that still too. I've still got that, the newsletter.
Full of shit.
Bod? What's bod again?
But bod was a joke. Bod was just because we were saying we had spectacular bodies.
Oh God. Bod, it was like a movement.
Everything was a movement with us. Thought everything was going to catch on. This is going to catch on, man. It's going to catch fire.
We used to make some for my friend who I had a crush on, and so we'd do a few of those tapes and stuff like that. And I just wonder if they ever listen. Actually, had to listen all the way through to this shit. And even now, listening back to it, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out, do I even bother keeping it?
That's a harsh call.
Like, who's going to want it?
Can't you edit into? We must have said something, all right.
Oh yeah, there were bits, but again, like it would literally just be for my kids. And are they going to want that or not? I don't know. Okay, so let's have a little pause on the conversation I'm having with Martin, and let me regale you with one of the stories of an ill-fated trip that we had off to Bonnie Doon, and the terrible things that ensued from that. And I hope you enjoy. Little Daniel, 17, and therefore convinced he was both immortal and terribly worldly, set off for Bonnie Doon on a New Year's Eve camping jaunt. He was accompanied by Martin, Richard, a lad of such improbable height he appeared to have been stretched on a medieval rack, and Martin's auntie, who travelled with a retinue of women possessing the serene confidence of people who actually know how to pitch a tent. The evening's festivities began at a pub of the sort that seems to have been assembled entirely from the memories of other Australian pubs. The carpet was a tapestry of ancient spills, the air smelled faintly of nostalgia and disinfectant, and the locals regarded the boys with the gentle curiosity of cows observing a passing hot air balloon. Drinks were consumed with a reckless gusto of youths who believe hangovers are merely an urban myth. By the time they staggered back to the campsite, the world had taken on that warm, fuzzy, slightly operatic quality that suggests one has drunk enough to attempt philosophy or karaoke. The three boys collapsed into a two-man tent, an act of spatial optimism so heroic it deserved a commemorative plaque. Sleep, however, was not forthcoming. Daniel's snoring, dear heavens, was less sound and more an event. It began as a rumble, grew into a roar, and finally settled into a sort of Wagnerian thunder that suggested Valhalla itself was under renovation. Richard, trapped in the tent like a giraffe in a teacup, attempted to wake Daniel. He shook him, he nudged him, he whispered his name with the urgency of a man trying to defuse a bomb. The sound Daniel made was thus. Despite all his attempts to wake the snoozing, snoring Daniel, nothing. In a moment of desperate inspiration, he reached across and began thumping Daniel's chest with the earnest determination of someone trying to reboot a Victorian steam engine. Silence. Glorious, blessed silence. For precisely 3 seconds. Then the snoring resumed louder, as though Daniel's unconscious mind had taken personal offense and decided to retaliate. At 3 a.m., the heavens opened. Not a polite drizzle, not a gentle shower. Oh, no. This was rain of such
biblical enthusiasm that one half expected an ark to float past. Their bargain basement tent responded by immediately surrendering to the elements. The boys awoke, half submerged, like 3 very disappointed otters. Seeking refuge, they approached Martin's auntie, who stood at the entrance of her large, warm, perfectly dry tent, with the implacable authority of a monarch guarding the crown jewels. No entry! Not tonight! Not ever! And so the boys retreated to the car, dripping, shivering, and contemplating the cruel indifference of both nature and aunties. They sat there until dawn, 3 soggy philosophers pondering the mysteries of youth, friendship, and the structural integrity of tents purchased on clearance. A miserable night, a ridiculous adventure, and inevitably a story that grows funnier with every retelling. One of those gloriously shambolic rites of passage that mark the beginning of adulthood with equal parts suffering and splendor.
And we used to get those Pizza Hut pizzas, which were like
the big ones,
long foots and foots.
There was a big triangle, it was a rectangle.
Oh, I loved it.
They were just unbelievable.
And first, everybody would be looking at each other. Don't eat too much of that.
That was a beginning of. I gauged that as the beginning of my fatness. Mm-hmm. Is that those pizzas?
I beg to differ. But another funny thing about me and Dan is we have gained and lost weight, and so's Jen.
Yes.
In unison.
Yeah.
We've been skinny together.
Yeah.
And then we've gained again, and it's weird. We've got some weird connection with our. Don't know what
cycles.
Yeah, we're psyched up.
It's a weird. That is true. I hadn't thought about that.
Mm.
And I used to remember when, particularly, was still in high school. I used to have bouts of depression, and I called it my moon phases. I think from memory.
Hippie.
Yeah, well, very much a hippie back then. But that was an interesting time, and I recognise the feeling still now sometimes, but it's nowhere near like it used to be. But as a teenager, I'd have serious bouts of depression, and then I'd bring my weirdness over to your place, and sometimes not even talk. That's right?
Yeah, that's right. I remember I was always... You worried me. Like, you're the only friend that actually worried me. Because, boys... very whereas you would be but then you'd go through this stage of just being silent.
Yes, yeah.
And I was worried, like, I didn't really understand psychology back then, but I knew you were in trouble.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you could go to somebody. All I could do was sit there and worry about you.
Yeah. It was a tough time. Hated being at home, and
I hated being in your home too.
Yeah, no, it was very uncomfortable. I had that moment, which I don't know if I really should. I don't want to be specific, but there was a time around then that I got very low and considered taking my life as well, in a very stupid way. So when I went through that moment, I remember it being at the end. It was like this. It was one of the simplest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. It was just like yes or no. Was that completely binary. Do I or not? And luckily, I think at that stage I was also sort of reading some good, positive kinds of books about spirituality and things like that, which I think gave me that little bit of hope. Because when you're that age, it's hard to think ahead to beyond school and beyond those.
Beyond the moment, really. I'm feeling this. We'll never feel any different.
Did I ever say I did? I tried.
You told me years later, but I obviously didn't know.
Yeah.
But I knew you were in a mindset that could happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was you were just so sad.
Yeah, and that's been a funny thing to think about with my mum. And to a lesser extent my dad, is that they didn't really notice. They didn't seem to really realise the severity, or maybe they just didn't. I don't know. It's a really hard thing to try and figure out, because it just comes across as, well, they just didn't give a shit. They were too busy thinking about something they were doing,
Very nice.
careers and that sort of stuff, and I was sort of left to work it out myself, which I'm feeling bloody lucky I'd managed to do that. And I don't think it was from any skills. I think it's sometimes people have that tenacity somewhere, but could have gone, as I said, binary, could have gone one way or the other.
I don't think people were very aware of it back then either. Like, it wasn't on a, it's now, it's lifeline, blah, blah, blah. Back then we weren't really thinking along those lines. Like, my parents, when I was moody, they'd say, well, he's a teenager, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So there's probably multifaceted reasons for why they didn't pick up on it.
Yeah.
But I would spend a lot of time with you.
Yeah.
A lot of time with you being very excited, very funny, and then times of you being silent.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm going to pick up on it better than most.
Yes. Yep. And I forget all that stuff too. Because it's such a slow transition out of those sorts of things. I'm so lucky I don't feel any of that anymore. But I had to do that. I had to figure it all out myself and give some reasons for it as well. And now the reasons, a lot of them have changed, But that's, I don't know. I don't think it matters really. Or maybe it does. I'm not sure. Like the reasons that there was depression, I thought it was because, but I think it's a mix. It was just happened to be a mix of different things. Was this, what's the word when it's a perfect storm, like for fire or something like that? That was just everything was in the wrong place at the same time.
Was there a major issue? Don't say it was me.
No. Well, it was just the hatred of my two step parents, and so it was that. It was struggling at school, which always pissed me off that you'd do better at school with like tests and that sort of stuff. You'd actually get better marks than I did. And you were hardly there, and I'd be like, what the hell? And I wasn't getting any other messages from home saying I'm not stupid. And so I just went through that whole school time just doing terribly and being judged and being spoken to angrily at the end of each year.
Parents.
Yeah, you're not applying yourself and you're lazy and you need to get more organised. And they didn't need to know anything about autism. But being a parent now, I sort of recognise that they didn't know anything.
Yeah, you don't talk to kids like that.
Well, yeah, and they never asked, or they never tried to see what they can do to help. And yeah, that's not a very nice feeling. So it was very much a feling of being alone, and why it was so important that I had you close by, and Jen was I was so young as well, which was good. It's a weird.
I would say when you met Jen, you were already a different person than the years you're talking about.
Yeah,
you were
17.
Yeah, you were very different, younger than 17.
Yes.
Then after like the really dark time was maybe 14 to 17.
Yes, but then you went away. You went to Queensland, and I think that's the same time I went to Wanturna to the other school.
And you thrived.
Yes,
because I was gone.
Finally, like the shackles had come off.
Out of my awful fetid shadow.
And so it was a weird thing. I got to go as a different character. Yeah. And got to try and some other masks to see how that went, and to be more confident and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a huge 180 from how it was before that, of getting no attention from girls at all, and then all of a sudden I was, and I dropped weight at the same time you had.
No, but that was actually, that phase was earlier in my teenage years.
Yeah.
I got skinny because I grew a tiny bit taller,
right,
only a couple of centimetres, and it just came off, and I was active, and I was more busy drinking and running around than caring about food like I do now.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a good period of time around that sort of, I think the 18, 19. There's a little bit more freedom too around that stage as well.
For you?
Yeah, but you also came back. I don't know if you came back different or not.
I came back very different. You mean from Cairns?
Yeah.
I came back as dressed all in...
Oh, I know that. Yeah. Yeah, there was the spiritual side was enhanced, as it was for me too. But I think as a core individual, you've always been pretty consistent. I was going to say predictable.
Oh, Jesus.
Consistent.
Yeah.
You've been a very consistent person. Yeah, I think so. But that other core part has never altered. Whereas I don't think I can say the same thing, because I can change a drop of the hat if I want to, and I can mask in different ways if I want to, and behave differently with different people. And so I'm still at 51 now with very little idea of who I actually am if I didn't do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I still don't know what the hell I am. But I think there are consistencies too. I think both of us are kind people.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Which really, I hate to say it, but it was when I first met you, you were the only one that did have the heart. I mean, the other guys might have had it, but it was hidden under that macho sort of payout culture.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't have that, and I was very attracted to that probably because of my upbringing.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I could never do that. I couldn't do sarcasm. I couldn't do that kind of thing. And that sort of, that side of our friends, I tried to mimic, but I used to get really hurt. No one was meaning to do anything, like to actually really hurt. But I get terribly hurt by stuff that was said. And I'd just sort of pretend laugh and ache inside.
Yeah.
Far too.
But I could see it, and I could see it in your eyes. I could see the moment it happened. You can see that switch. Yeah. And I think it's gone too far, and I try and pull it back. But when it's like a train, like as I said, when you're a teenage boy, it's like a runway train. Just keep like going up and up and up, and raising the level until somebody is actually verbally slaughtered. And it was, it wasn't nice.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any stronger... Like, they were friends, but I wasn't hanging out with all of them. And I certainly wouldn't go on my own to hang out with some of them.
Is this just like on purpose?
Huh? This horrible noise.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if it's going to pick up on the recording or not. But if it is, it's someone's drilling next door, and not the interesting kind of drilling. It's like
that.
tooth drilling.
Somebody's doing some dentist work next door.
It's quite shocking now. Bloody hell. Well, we've spoken for like 30 minutes or so, which is just about the right amount of time. But what I found interesting is, and I shouldn't have had that expectation, I don't think, this is not a conversation that we would have. We have these sorts of conversations. That's been always great. We've always been able to speak very openly and vulnerably, but it's always peppered with jokes. A lot of jokes and a lot of, and it's been interesting that we haven't done on this at all. But that's the interesting thing, I think, about us, is that we don't need that. We don't need to have the laughs and the carry on at all, as you can clearly see, to hold a conversation.
You weren't hoping for the laughs and the carry on, were you?
No, there was an expectation that I was wondering if that would fit, if that would, like normally with a phone call that we definitely would on tangents all the time, but I didn't know if that was going to happen or not.
I had an awareness of what this was, though.
Exactly, yeah. I suppose we didn't have anything set. I could have started it just by talking complete nonsense, and it would have worked as well. If we'd done something completely
outlandish. Yeah, I've been off and running.
Thinking like an old lady. I could have come in as chartreuse.
Only amusing ourselves. That's all we ever do.
Yes. I'm in love with your best friend, but he's rejected me, darling. He rejected me. What do I do now? Well, thank you very much for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well,
thanks for putting me on this.
Money's on the fridge. All right, that's enough. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Best friends make for better laughs, better tea and idle sparks. 1980s were uncool, better since I looked the fool. Martin's house, the place to meet, so friendly just up the street. Friends like these are just the best,
nothing more that you possess.